What's up?
Just came by to welcome you to Arena Football and wish you luck in tomorrow's game.
Yo, how much luck am I gonna need?
More than you had at the Grammys.
My team's right here.
Where's your...
Well, that's how it's gonna be.
Well, that's how it's gonna be.
Let's take it inside.
Think your wife's gonna notice that?
Nah. What do you think you're doing?
What's it look like I'm doing?
Living in the past?
It's better than living on a prayer.
Here we go, let's go, let's go! Red 285! Red 285! Way back to pass. He's rolling out left. It's a bootleg. He's got daylight. Looks like they're going to get him going for it. No! Touchdown! Can you believe it?
Awesome. Welcome to Arena Football.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Arena Football Nation, powered by Action VR Network. A little late getting on the air with computer issues, not only on Bob's end, but my end. But we're on the air. That's the important thing. We're very glad that you could join us. I am Mike Summers. Looks like I'm flying solo today. A lot of my colleagues and co-hosts are out doing gallivanting, doing out and about, doing whatever. It is Labor Day weekend, so hopefully that you all are going to have a very safe and happy Labor Day, and a lot of people are getting well-deserved time off, including myself, with 3-day weekends. So, but for some of us in the radio business, we don't get much time off. But today is a very, very important show because we have a very special guest joining us today. He's on standby. Baylon Trujillo, former quarterback of the Orlando Predators of the NAL, and will be joining us to talk about, obviously, his career and playing in the indoor game and the much publicized controversy going on with the Orlando Predators and other great things. And he, like us, he's a radio show host, so maybe we'll even get into a little bit of that today as well. But just to kind of get things going on the right foot, it's been a very busy week in the indoor game this week. Talk of expansion just about everywhere. It includes the Indoor Football League. As everyone knows, Oakland pretty much is set in stone, ready to go in the IFL. But now there's a lot of talk that the Pacific Northwest is ready to get back into the indoor game, and even though nothing has been confirmed yet, and there has been a source in the IFL that is saying, and again, unconfirmed, that Spokane and Portland will be getting teams next year. But again, we are awaiting official word on that to see whether or not that will happen. If that happens, that is going to be huge for the Pacific Northwest after losing both of their teams in the AFL because of a shady now former commissioner. And I've already, and on this show, even going back to last year, I've made my case and I've made my statements about that, which some people believe, others think I'm just blowing smoke, if you know. But I'm sticking with what I'm saying. So that would be a huge, huge plus. Could be a possibility that the IFL could jump to 16 teams, and that would definitely be huge. So we're still waiting to hear about all that. Also still waiting to hear about the AFL, although this week it has been reported, as far as the AFL is concerned, that 4 cities are likely to get teams. And again, unconfirmed. Do not shoot the messenger here. But we should know something within the next few weeks. But 4 cities have been mentioned. Cleveland, even though technically not an expansion team, it is a team that has been on hiatus for a couple of years due to off-season renovations with what is now called the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse in Cleveland. It used to be called the Q, but now they call it Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. So the home of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and could very well once again be home of the Cleveland Gladiators. Made sure that I mentioned that to my good friend John Dutton, and because he played for the Gladiators years ago, and so that would be a huge boost again for Cleveland. So that would be really big should they get things going. But it looks like it's going to be a foregone conclusion. Cleveland Gladiators are going to be playing in the AFL next year. Three other cities that are expansion cities that are being looked at, though again nothing official yet. Pittsburgh has been mentioned, and even several of the folks in Pittsburgh have been told about this. I was reading their group page, and they're saying, yeah, we'll believe it when we see it. So, especially after what happened with the Pittsburgh Power and the previous owner, which, as we know, shady and led to a lot of controversy there. And but that's just another story for another time there. But Pittsburgh's on the list. Let me see. I got to look on my list right here. Raleigh, North Carolina is also on the list, and they have previously hosted arena football with the original Carolina Cobras, not to be confused with the current team in Greensboro. But they are on the list, and that would definitely be huge. They have a big enough arena there, the home of the Carolina Hurricanes. So that would be an ideal place for them to play. And this one totally surprised me, and I wish I had my colleagues with me today to kind of discuss this one. Louisville, Kentucky is on the list for a possible expansion in the AFL, which is a total surprise. But then again, it wouldn't surprise me one bit, because obviously a college football city, college sports city with the University of Louisville, and they also have had arena football there in the past with the AF2's Louisville Fire that played there years ago. And apparently there was a really good fan base there, so that would be a huge boost there. And it's very interesting to see that, smaller communities getting to be part of a big league. So there's a lot of expansion talk there, but we'll have more details as the weeks go on. Now we come to the NAL, and there is now obviously talk, and it's really just huge talk, of the Maine Mammoths coming back to the NAL, even though nothing has been officially confirmed yet. The rumblings are huge, and apparently at a fan page somewhere, we saw the Maine Mammoths page for Facebook say, "Tusks up." And so there's been a lot of people asking questions, and even Rob Storm saying it's a strong possibility. So there's a good shot that the Maine Mammoths will be back in the NAL next year. Also, there has been confirmation, even though there's no official announcement, but confirmation that Nashville will be getting an NAL team, and likely going to be called the Nashville Cats. So that means the Cats will be back for a third time, but this time not in the AFL, it is the NAL. So that would be the situation right there, but still uncertain about the future of both the New York Streets and the Orlando Predators after the seasons that they had this year. And it's a perfect segue into bringing in our special guest, who can probably tell you about this whole situation with Orlando once we get to that. But we're going to, follow protocol that we always have here to talk about careers, going back like to high school, college, and all that good stuff, even into the pros. And then it's going to segue into the controversy going on in Orlando. But we're very happy to have with us the former quarterback of the Orlando Predators, joining us, Baylin Trujillo. Baylin, welcome to Arena Football Nation, powered by Action VR Network. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Thank you for having me on your show.
Hey, no problem. And this is a great platform to discuss things and in talking about the much publicized controversy that is going on, which has been getting a lot of mixed reaction. But we'll get to that in just a minute. But first of all, obviously an outstanding quarterback in your time playing in the game. We always like to talk to our guests about their athletic backgrounds, and so we'll go ahead and start with that. Tell us about how you got started and how you got interested in football and how you worked your way up to where you are today.
Yeah, so I started playing sports at the age of 4. I started playing baseball. That was the first sport I ever played. That's the one sport my dad got me into when I was very young, just for coordination and stuff. And then by the age of 7, that's when I started playing football. And I always had a strong arm playing baseball, and I figured that out pretty young. So the first position I tried was quarterback. My dad actually played safety in college at UCF, so he didn't really know much about the position. And when I was growing up, there wasn't really personal trainers or one-on-one instruction. So my dad did the best he could, training me as I was going through, my youth stages and then into my teenage years and obviously going into high school. But I played quarterback since I was the age of 7. I had the gift of a strong arm, so I used it to the best I could. When I got to high school, I had some early success. I was actually part of the team that went undefeated in my freshman year at Boone High School here in Orlando, Florida, where I was born and raised. Went undefeated, split time with another guy, and then going into my sophomore year, started on JV, got moved up after the season, and ultimately went to a state championship my sophomore year. We ended up losing that game, but it was a great experience. Then my junior year, went to a state semifinals, was a part of that team as well at Boone High School, and we ended up losing to the eventual state champion. So I've had a lot of success and been around success playing football. Then I ended up transferring to Oak Ridge High School my senior year because they ran a spread offense, and I wanted to be the guy. So when I transferred there, had a phenomenal season under Elijah Williams, who's now the current head coach at Jones High School here in Orlando as well. He taught me everything I pretty much know, how to break down film, how to use, my strengths to my advantages. We ended up, 6-4, went to a bowl game, and led Central Florida in passing, was actually 5th in Central Florida and 3rd in the county in all passing. And then I got recruited by people like Marshall, Middle Tennessee. I had contacts with USF, Charleston Southern, and then I ended up committing to the University of South Florida under Peter Voss, who was recruiting me heavily, kind of late in the recruiting process. But when I took my unofficial visit there, I fell in love with the campus. It was right there by home, and unfortunately it was a rival to my dad, but I always knew I was never going to play at UCF. I wanted to kind of start my own legacy and not have to, follow in the footsteps of my dad and kind of just create my own. And so I went to the University of South Florida under Skip Holtz. Like I mentioned before, Coach Peter Voss was my quarterback coach, and that's when I really knew the fundamentals of quarterback. He kind of broke it down for me through meetings and obviously watching film, going through practices and stuff. That's when I kind of got caught up to speed. But that's also where I got my passion for quarterback training, which that's what I do now full-time here in Orlando, Florida. I train quarterbacks all over the country, as well as in the Central Florida area. And the reason why I got a passion for that is because, again, like I mentioned before, my dad had trained me growing up, but again, he played safety in college, so he didn't really know much about quarterback. So all I knew was I had a strong arm, and I just used that, and the coaches used that as I was growing up. But when I got to USF, it kind of put me behind the 8 ball because some of these other guys kind of had that training. So it kind of put me behind as far as the depth chart is concerned, and I had to work my way up. I ended up redshirting in 2011, and then I went into a spring in 2012. Did pretty well, but they did like some type of coaching change where they did a rotation. I didn't really like how that was. So right after our spring game and our exit meetings, I had told our new quarterback coach, who was our offensive coordinator, Coach Fitch, I said, hey, I'm asked for my release. Can I get released? And I just want to get an opportunity somewhere else. So he granted that to me, and I ended up transferring to Weber International University, where I played there for 3 years. Went through some adversity. Right when I got there, I was a starting quarterback. Started that entire season there, my redshirt sophomore year. And then the last play of my going into my junior year in the spring game, I actually tore my ACL, the very last play, which kind of set me back. It definitely humbled me as a player. I needed that in my life personally. It got me closer to God, which I'm a big believer. And then that kind of, reshaped the way I thought about things. So then I ended up being a part of the team my senior year. We won the conference championship, which was the first time they ever were Weber International was in a conference, in the Sun Conference, and we won it. So that was really cool how I ended my career playing in college with a championship. And then once that ended, I started coaching and teaching at Oak Ridge High School, came back to where the opportunity where it presented itself in high school for me. So I came back, started coaching there, and I've been coaching there for the last 4.5 years. I started my own personal quarterback training business in Orlando, which now I'm up to 120 clients. But again, the passion came from when I was at USF, so that I can gear these kids when they're young, so that whenever they go to college and have that opportunity, that they're ready and they don't have to, wait for the opportunity or not know what to do when they get there. So now that's where a lot of my passion came from, just so that these kids are ready. But I got a call after 2 years of being out of the game. Again, when I tore my ACL, kind of changed everything for me. I kind of fell under the radar. They did like a little mini pro day at Weber, and I didn't even do it. It was kind of discouraging. But again, if I was already made up with my mind after winning the championship with Weber that, if I never played football again, that it was okay, because again, my passion started to change towards coaching. But 2 years after being out of the game, I got a random phone call. I'll never forget it. I was literally driving home from work, and I got a call from the Central Florida Jaguars, which was a professional arena team in Lakeland. They had called me, and I guess their quarterback had went down with an injury, and they had 2 games left of their season. And they're like, "Look, we heard about you, and we've been following you on social media. We could see you play quarterback. We've been following your trainings and stuff. We see that you still have it. So if you want to come up here, we'll give you a little workout. If it works out for you, we'll sign you." Well, needless to say, I showed up. They signed me. They signed me on a Thursday, and our game was Saturday. And again, they had 2 games left, so I ended up starting the last 2 games, finished doing really well. My first real true game, I threw 2 touchdowns back-to-back against the Florida Tarpons, who was an established arena team in Fort Myers. And then the next game was against the Osceola Ravens, and I ended up throwing 4 touchdowns and rushing a touchdown. So after that game, I got a call from an all-star game that was held in Georgia, which was like a Florida versus Georgia and Carolina game. It was like a turkey bowl over Thanksgiving. Ended up playing in that game and won MVP of that game, threw 5 touchdowns and also caught another touchdown on a trick play. So after that, I got a lot of attention. Obviously, I was back in the game, playing again. And then I get a call from the Florida Tarpons. They had a guy named Chris Wallace, he's a pretty big name in the arena talks, and he was with the Florida Tarpons for a long time, won a couple of championships with them. He was kind of at the end of his career, so he never really had a backup. So they called me and was like, "Look, you're our future guy. You're with the Central Florida Jaguars, who ended up folding in 2016. Right after my last game with them, they folded. Something happened with coaching changes and money, so they just tanked. And then actually, Florida Tarpons moved from Fort Myers to Lakeland, where they played 2 years, and I was with them for the last 2 years, and they ended up folding this past year. While I was with the Florida Tarpons this past year, or the Lakeland Tarpons, the Orlando Predators owner, Kenny McIntyre, had reached out to me. Again, they've been following me. There's a couple of guys on the staff that knew who I was. And they're like, "Hey, you check out this quarterback," because they're going through some quarterback issues. And the starting quarterback at the time, Kyle Israel, got hurt. So I know they needed a quarterback. So they reached out to me, and this is no joke, I actually declined Kenny the first time he called me. I had told him straight up, I was like, "Look, I'm already committed to another team. Yeah, granted, you guys make more money. You're in a bigger league, and you're obviously more established. I mean, it's the Orlando Predators, which we all know who they are." I actually said, "Look, I'm a loyal guy. I'm going to stay with the Florida Tarpons. That's who I committed to and signed with for my second year." And then 2 weeks later, after that phone call and that text message to Kenny, the Florida Tarpons actually folded out of nowhere, which kind of threw me behind. But I reached out to Kenny that same day that they folded. I was like, "Look, I know that I said no the first time, but I'm a guy of loyalty and a guy of integrity, and it wasn't about the money for me and about the fame and all that. I just wanted to play football." And so I said, "Look, if you want to give me an opportunity, I'm available now." And he literally that same day said, "Look, here's our practice. I wanted you to come the next day, and we'll see how you are." So I came to the practice. Next thing you know, of course, they evaluated me, and they signed me that same day. They sent me a contract and was like, "Look, you're a guy. We want you to play for us." In that same time frame, they had just signed Brian Hicks. He actually signed right after I declined. The 2 weeks prior to me signing to them, when I first declined the Predators, they signed Brian Hicks, who came from New York, and he did really well in his first game. And then the second game is when I signed. So we went up to Carolina, and he actually got an NAL record. I think he threw 9 or 10 touchdowns. which was a really big performance for him. And we actually came away with the W, which was one of our only 2 wins of the entire season, which was pretty cool in my first game. I got one snap of action in there. I threw a 9-yard completion on the game-winning drive that ultimately led to a field goal that won the game. So it was a cool experience. Again, like I said, my whole experience in arena was good up to that point, and I thought everything was going to go well, and that's where we're at today. And then obviously we know how it ended. We finished, I think, 2-14 or something like that, 2-13, and it wasn't the Orlando Predators that we used to know. But that's my playing career in football. Like I said, I played at the highest level. I played in college, and now I'm just, again, my passion is more quarterback training and coaching. But God's given me a gift, and if the opportunity presents itself, I'll just continue to play.
Wow, truly amazing. A great career there. That is an impressive resume, and I know that there are probably going to be a lot of coaches, especially one who's a co-host on this show, that would probably be looking at get something like that there. But as you know, Orlando, we know, has had teams come and go, and unfortunately one of those came and went this past season with the Apollos, declared the champions of the Alliance, and Steve Spurrier got his ring, and I think all the players may have gotten their rings too. But
like a little championship thing in Orlando.
Yeah, it truly was, and but just a sad end there. But I know that we've talked a lot about the Orlando Predators, and this is a team, and this is what we're going to be segueing folks into talking about this. Again, we're here with Baylin Trujillo, if you're just joining us, former quarterback of the Orlando Predators, and we know that the Orlando Predators is a name synonymous with arena football, going all the way back to 1991 when they started in the Arena Football League and were a well-run organization at that time. Now, as we said, we're getting a lot of mixed signals from fans and people here, but this is Baylin going to tell us the story here. So we're being fair, obviously. So I don't want anybody to think that we're taking sides or anything, but we're giving him the opportunity to go ahead and tell what has been going on here. It has been so controversial, and people are not sure what the future status of the current Predators team is, but we're going to go ahead and turn the floor over to you, because you went to the media, obviously, after this whole thing broke down, and I'm going to go ahead and let you take this, because you're a radio host yourself. You know how all this goes, so I'm going to turn it over to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So again, I want to make this perfectly clear. I'm no way, shape, or form encouraging ever belittling someone, exposing someone under, circumstances of getting them, exposed or whatever, or anybody for that matter. But what I am going to stand for and will always stand for is the truth and integrity. And if you mess with those two things, everyone deserves the right to know, especially when you're dealing with people's lives and their careers. I feel like it's important that, if it's going to affect that, then yes, something does need to be said. I'll make it also perfectly clear that like I mentioned before, my passion is training. My passion is being with kids. My passion is seeing development of quarterbacks and stuff like that. So if I never play another down of football again, I won't lose sleep. But some of these guys that are on our team with the Orlando Predators, this is their career. This is what they're banking all their lives on. They're trying to use this to get to higher levels, hopefully the NFL, Canadian, or any stuff like that. But for me, it doesn't matter if I ever put on another helmet again, which is why I was able to come out with all this information. But I will tell you right now, my relationship with Kenny McIntyre when I first started with the Predators was awesome. He was a great guy. If you talk to him in person, he tells you everything you want to hear. He's a positive, energetic guy. I loved the energy he brought the first day. Again, like I said, when I went to practice and he came out there to watch me, he literally pulled me aside after practice, told me, he likes what he sees. There's no waiting for me. Whenever the opportunity is going to present itself, he's throwing me in the game. He wants me to, shine. So it was always positive with me and Kenny. And after the first game, when we went up to Carolina, we won. And between that and about 3 weeks, he was paying me, and all my checks were going through. But it was weird. Every time I'd go to practice, players on the team were complaining that their checks were being bounced, but I never had that issue. And I never put two and two together. I'm just thinking, well, maybe some of these guys, they don't really, they're not controlling their bank accounts or whatever reason it was. But I just didn't understand why I never had that issue. Well, it was only until I broke my hand in the fourth game that I was with the Predators. It was actually against Carolina. I was rolling out right before halftime, got hit from behind. I think the ball came out. You see the game on YouTube or whatever, and I landed right on the turf. It was from my blind side, so I didn't even know he was right behind me. And luckily the ball hit the sideline, so it wasn't a turnover. We still had the ball. But I knew something was wrong with my hand. I went into halftime and just got it checked out or whatever, and they pretty much taped it up. And then I in my mind, I was mentally done, and they threw me back in the game with 8 minutes left. We're already down 56-0. And then sure enough, I get hit like 3 straight plays, and I just knew at that point, every time I got hit, it was landing on my hand. So it looked pretty bad. It black and blue literally immediately after the game, and then I got x-rays the following day because our game was on a Sunday, and I went into the orthopedic Monday morning, found out that it was completely broken. And then as soon as I get out of the orthopedic appointment, which was at like 11 o'clock in the morning, I get a text from offensive coordinator that they cut Brian Hicks. So now it was like a scramble because they just cut Brian, and now I have my hand broken, and so there's no way I was going to play. And they were playing Jacksonville that Friday. So I texted, Coach Kenny McIntyre, and I texted Coach Doug and PJ Jack, who's the offensive coordinator at the time, that I was a no-go for that Friday. And they literally texted me, later that night. One was said, "Are you sure you can't go?" And then Coach Doug was like, "Well, I'll put you on IR." Then the Tuesday came, and then Coach McIntyre texted me and was like, "Are you sure you can't throw? What's the status?" And I was like, "Coach, my finger's broken. There's no way." And he was like, "Okay." And then sure enough, Thursday night, the day before the game, I get another text saying, "Rub some dirt on it. You could play. How's the hand?" Like kind of just kind of checking up on me. And I was like, "Look, I'm telling you right now, my hand's broken. I'm not going to play. I'm not going to risk this when we're 2 and whatever. I think we're 11. It's just not worth it." And then the doctor told me if I get hit there again, that it has a chance of going out of place because luckily the bone broke perfectly to where nothing moved. It was just a crack in the bone. But if it moved, I would have to have automatic surgery, and it's not worth it for me. So I just was like, I'm just going to ride this, see how it goes, make sure it heals before I even think about playing again. So they ended up signing another quarterback, Mike Parsons, last minute. I found out that they didn't really practice that entire week, and then obviously it showed. They played Jacksonville, and it just looked terrible. But after that point, I was still owed that game check that I got hurt in against Carolina that Sunday. And then every game after that, and I think on the contract after I read it, it was $100 every week that you don't play, but you're on IR. So I was there for 3 weeks after I got injured. So I was owed that game check and then 3 IR checks, which is $100 each, which comes up to a total of $500. The argument for the last game of the season, I guess they had cut me right that same day because another player wanted to wear my jersey number. So it was just kind of like kind of confusing because I didn't even know that until I checked the website on that Sunday after they played, and it showed that they released me that Friday. Even though I showed up to the game, everything was fine. I actually wore my jersey on the sideline. And I also read in the contract you can't get cut if it's due to injury purposes. So that was also, he couldn't have done that, but supposedly he did. And then I texted Kenny about it, and then he goes, "I didn't cut you." And I was like, "What do you mean? It's on the website." He goes, "I don't make those decisions," which we all know that he does. He's the owner. He's going to make those decisions. And I already know, I got inside sources and from people that tells me, he's the one that sends in a list of all the guys he cut. So obviously he did that, and he couldn't do it. But anyways, that wasn't even, the thing. It was more like after that moment I broke my hand, for those 3 weeks that I was on IR, I would text him periodically and be like, "Hey, coach, like, whenever you're in the office, just let me know. I'll come by, pick up my check." And he would always give me the runaround, like, "Oh, I'm not in town," or, "I'm not in the office until this time," or, "I'll get it to you at practice," and then I'd show up to come pick it up, and he wouldn't be there. So it was just for 3 weeks, it was just on and on and on and on about excuses. I'm just like, dude, all you got to do is just hand me my check, and I'll literally walk away. I'll even quit. It doesn't matter. Like, I just want to get paid for the game especially the game I got injured. I mean, I just risked my entire body out there. We're getting destroyed, and you throw me back out there, and, it could have got, worse. So I'm just like, just pay me, and we're done. Well, he actually sends me a text, that's how it all started, because I took screenshots of this text so you could see exactly what he said to me about, "Hey, I'm out of town in Jacksonville. Like, you should know that," which one, he never returns my text anyway, so how would I know that he's in Jacksonville? And then he goes, "When I get back, I'll give you this $1 million. I mean, okay, you could be, you don't have to go that far to be sarcastic about $1 million. Yeah, granted, it's only $400 or $500, but at the same time, like, you still owe me money. Like, that's still money that I spent time going to practice, playing the game, again, ultimately breaking my hand, and all I was asking was just simply give my game check. And he tells me, yeah, I'll give you your $1 million. So that's when this is when it all happened. Again, I'm in a group chat with all the players for the Orlando Predators. I'm in multiple, one on Facebook, one in text messages. And again, I've been knowing what's going on the entire season, but again, I didn't say anything only because I was always getting paid. I was always being treated well. There was never an issue with me. I live in Orlando, so I didn't live in the apartment, so I never complained about that. I always had rides to practice, so I never missed that. And then every game that I played in, he gave me a check, and it never bounced. It always went through. So when he finally said that text message about, I'll pay you your $1 million or whatever in a sarcastic way, which that's what, again, set me off. I went back and I looked at my records of the game checks, and I realized he was paying me from a personal check, and it didn't even say Orlando Predators on it. Now, again, I remember going to the meetings, and obviously there was discussions before practices towards the end of the season about players complaining about their credit and about, checks being bounced and that there's no money in the Orlando Predators account, which that's when it really clicked for me, because I'm thinking, wait, I'm getting a check for my games from a personal account and not an Orlando Predators account, which means Kenny's paying me from his own bank. Why is he not paying me from the Orlando Predators? Because he's the owner of the team. So the money should be in a business account and not his personal account. So that was red flag number one. So then that's when I exposed him on that. Then I come out with everything that the players have been going through the entire season, because I felt like, at this point, everyone deserves and has the right to know what's been going on. Because if you look at our roster, there's no way we go 2-14 or 2-15 or 2-13. There's absolutely no way. We have probably some of the best talent in the entire league. But the reason why we're not winning is, one, players aren't going to practices because they're not motivated enough because they're not getting paid. And number two, the living conditions that these players are living in is terrible. When the owner's not paying rent, people are getting evicted. They're literally sleeping in other places, in other people's houses. That's just not right. And we actually had one player that went into hiding because his unit got evicted. Everyone in the unit got kicked out, which I think one player got traded to New York. But he was actually banned from being on site, so he was jumping from apartment to apartment, not being shown on site, because if he was, the cops would be called and he'd be arrested for trespassing, which there's no way you should live in. And again, I have proof of all this, which is why I posted the pictures of the eviction notices, of the towing notices, of all the checks. I even put one of my checks on there. Obviously, I cleared out my name so no one can see it, or my account numbers or whatever, but it shows that Kenny's name is perfectly on there, so you see it's from his account. And then one of my friends, who I actually brought onto the team, his family bought a ticket or a couple tickets to our last home game, the game I got injured in, and they got the receipt back a couple days later through their credit card, and it went to a limo company. Didn't even go to the Orlando Predators or the arena. They bought the tickets online, I guess at a Ticketmaster or something like that, a StubHub or something, and the ticket price went through a limo company, and so they disputed it because they were like, we never paid for a limo service or a bus service or whatever, so what is this charge, even though it's the exact amount that they paid for the tickets. Ultimately, they paid through a PayPal, so they got their refund, which was great, but who's to know how many other people actually paid for a ticket thinking that it's going to the Predators, and it might be going to either Kenny's account or one of his other businesses, which I found out later that that limo or that bus business is one of our sponsors. Which, again, all illegal, which is money laundering, which you can't do that because you're just taking away from taxes and all that. So that was exposed. But again, the only reason why, again, it came out with all of this is, one, he disrespected me. Two, he's ignored me. And three, I don't care if I ever play again. So everyone deserves the right to know. And these other players are not saying anything only because they're afraid that the next owner that wants to sign them, if anything goes wrong, they're afraid that they're just going to hit the media or they're going to complain about it on social media, and then it's just going to be a bad rep. For me, I can care less. So that's why I did it. Again, I'm never going to support bashing someone or publicly harming someone's name. But when it comes to truth and integrity, I'll always stand for that. And if it's affecting me or the people around me that are close to me, and especially their lives, their personal credits, which, again, if you get evicted, your credit, that looks terrible on your credit scores, which all that their names were on them. It wasn't even in Kenny's name. So they were the ones getting affected. And then when checks are being bounced, people are getting charged. So here you are thinking you're putting a $200 check into the bank. You get your check bounced, and, oh, by the way, the bank's saying you owe $25 because your check was bounced for fraud or whatever. Amscott's calling you like you owe money. Like, are you kidding me? Like, here you are thinking you're getting paid. Now you have to pay. I mean, it's just it's terrible. And yeah, he might say he has his reasons. Players might not have been doing the things he's asking. Okay, that's cool. But you cut them and you make sure that they're able to do other things and not just string them along, torture them, have their personal credits affected, and now they can't either find a job, buy a house, buy a car, or what have you, because of the ownership that you're doing. So again, you know what? He actually coached in one of our last games, and he's a phenomenal coach. I'll tell you that. Kenny McIntyre is a phenomenal football coach. But as far as ownership, he's terrible, and things got to change, or the Orlando Predators won't unfortunately come back. The Orlando Predators need to come back. Orlando needs that in their city. Like you mentioned, and like I've mentioned, Orlando Predators was an established organization. Everybody knows who they are. They're a winning tradition there. They brought a lot of excitement to the Arena League. It's a great environment. It's in a big city like Orlando, in the Amway, which is one of the newest arenas in the entire AFL and NAL. So it brings a lot of attention. But when you have stuff like this, it's just no right for a player to play in a situation like this or circumstances. And there's no way an owner like this should be in charge of an organization like this, especially with their name on the line. And again, unfortunately, the league and the Orlando Predators are taking a hit from this one. It has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with the owner.
Yeah, we've seen this situation happen many times with different teams, whether it be from smaller teams or all the way up to the top-notch AFL. I mean, we've seen that so many times, and it just it hurts. And you feel bad for all the teammates that that you had that have been struggling with this, have been dealing with this. And I know that.
Oh yeah.
I'm pretty sure, and I can guarantee you this, Balin. Here's the thing that I always like to say. I don't think that coaches from other teams would want to pass on these guys, because they understand the situations that they've gone through and everything, and especially Coach Rez, who's our co-host here on Arena Football Nation, and he's a DC over in Carolina. I don't think that he would have a problem, talking to Coach back and signing players like that. I mean, you got well-run organizations right there. It's just the fact is that there are so many owners that say one thing and do another, but as you said, you're not here to bash anybody. You're not trying. I mean, you already gave the disclaimer and everything. You're just suggesting
the facts are the facts. That's it.
The facts are the facts.
The facts are the facts, and it is what it is. I'm not saying Kenny's a bad person. I'm not saying that he can't be a good owner one day, but I'm just telling you what's been going on, and the facts are the facts, which is, again, everything that I've said, I've supported with evidence and proof. It's not like I'm just randomly saying this because I'm an angry player that's not getting paid. I mean, like I said, I gain nothing at all by doing this. And I'm not going to lie, like I have gotten a lot of positive publicity from this. I mean, players are texting me almost every day. Coaches are reaching out to me. Our own coaches. I mean, our three offensive coordinators still haven't gotten paid. They literally reach out to me almost every day. Coach Bennett, who I feel like is one of the best coaches you've ever coached in Arena and play in Arena. Me and him have a good relationship, and he's reached out to me on multiple occasions saying, hey, if the news wants to reach out to me, I'll expose this guy. I actually talked to the first offensive coordinator last night at a football game, and he's already served Kenny, so he's taking him to court. So it's just going to get really, really bad. But again, I'm not saying Kenny's a bad guy. I'm not saying, he's this type of person or that. But as far as ownership and what we went through as players is very unacceptable. And no player should ever have to go through something like this, especially an established organization that's already been run and has shown success in the past. But this is what really got me. At the end of the year, when the season was finally officially over, we actually got invited by our fan base, the ones that actually knew we were around, because I'll tell you one thing, Kenny did a terrible job of marketing the Orlando Predators, which I also mentioned in one of my posts that my mom was actually trying to help him because she is the vice president of the Lakeland Magic, which is the Orlando Magic G League team. She is the vice president, so she's really good in marketing and strategically getting excitement from fans to want to either purchase season tickets or get the name out there. And from what I know, he reached out to my mom several occasions after I signed because he found out, who she was and was trying to, work out a deal to maybe even move Orlando to Lakeland or do something to save money and also get the name out there. And pretty much just showed exactly who he was. And then I find out after I'm doing all these interviews with, Channel 9 and West Channel 2 and all that Kenny never once reached out to them for marketing. So we could have had a lot bigger fan base. But again, that never took place, which is why we barely had any fans there, which again, we thank all the fans for showing up because it was awesome. That again brings excitement to the city. And obviously word of mouth is a good marketing tool as well, but it's just hard when you don't have any posters or anything out there like they used to. But anyways, the fans wanted to throw it after the season party at Wekiva Springs, and all the players, whether you were a former player or current player or whatever, or a fan, you were able to come out there and just hang out and meet the players and the coaches. And when I got there, our co-owner, which is Nate, he's amazing, by the way. He's the only one that really spoke to us players and took the time. Nate Starling, he's amazing. And I hope that he owns the team out right next year or someone else does. But that's just my opinion. Again, it is what it is. But we had a good conversation when I first showed up, and I come to find out, I actually asked if Kenny was going to show up, and one of the fans in that little circle that we were having in our conversation actually said, Kenny told them, why would he show up to a party that we don't even deserve? And players definitely don't deserve it, especially after the season we had. So when your owner says something like that, when the fans are trying to put something on, it's not even like a coach, it's the fans that just want to be around. That's just sad. And you don't do that as an owner. I'm sorry. And if I were an owner of something, which I own 2 businesses, but if something like, of an organization or a team, you best believe I'm going to be at everything, whether that's a game, whether that's a party, a fundraiser or a charity event, I'm going to be there. And literally he would leave at halftime in most games. One game he didn't even show up. I mean, it's honestly a joke, and it's sad, honestly. So that's that's just the big kicker. I mean, again, I didn't really publicize that too much. Again, I was trying to focus more on the facts and the legal things that were happening. But that's just, the type of ownership that we've been getting as players, and it's just not right. And it's ultimately sad.
Yeah, it sounds almost like a position that we are having up here in Portland, which we had the Portland Thunder. The only difference to that is it's like totally a reverse, because the owner actually did show up, and the owner actually was paying players, but then he gets these accusations hurled towards him, and I don't want to try and open up that old wound, because that's it's a tough situation. Because my wife Abby and I met Terry Emmert. He invested in this team, and called out the then commissioner at the time, who's not commissioner anymore. You got a much better commissioner in the Arena Football League now in Randall Bowe, but the guy who was there before him, was called out on everything like medical insurance and pay for players so that they can have the adequate housing and everything else like that. And what's the commissioner's response? Yank the team from him, change the name, and then see your fan base just plummet right down into the toilet. So that's, almost it's kind of a different situation to what you're going through, because you have owners that care. And then from what it sounds like with Kenny McIntyre, it didn't sound like he cared one iota. But you talked about Nate Starling, and he just became a friend on Facebook, and I'm hoping to have him on the show here, in the coming weeks and everything. So obviously this is a major situation that's still playing out. And I know we're not here to judge and everything, but what do you hope to see to hopefully keep the name alive and even keep them in the NAL, or possibly find new owners to take them back to the AFL?
Yeah, just one, you got to pay the players back. You have to own up to your mistakes. 1, number 2, you got to find a new owner. 3, pay the players. 4, make sure you still establish that great relationship with the Amway, because at any point they could be like, we're not working with you because you still owe us a lot of money, which was a big issue in the previous owner. They were in a lot of debt. And he was just fed up because he realized he was paying a lot of different, teams and leagues, and he didn't have to do that. So ultimately that's what led to Orlando folding the first time. So now here we go again. Our owner's not even paying the players, and I already know through outside sources that he still owes the arena a lot of money. And it's just, it just needs to change. Something's got to change, and it's not the players. I mean, granted, you have to have, good players that's been around and experienced, but that was never our issue. We always had good players. It was just the ownership and what type of motivation would any player want to do or be under when you're getting treated like this. And again, I was with the Orlando Predators, I think, for a month and a half, a total like 6 or 7 weeks total. And I'm going to tell you right now, I can count on 2 hands the number of times we actually practiced and had a good practice. It was sad. There's weeks where we would go 1 practice and have a game, or 2 practices that were solid, or majority of the time talking about these issues. So there was no way we were prepared or mentally focused for majority, or if not all, the games that we played, which is what you saw as a result. And that all stems from the foundation, which is the owner. So when you build something up, you got to make sure you have the right tools in place to build it. But if you're the foundation and you're not stable, guess what? That thing's going to crumble, and it's not going to be the way you want it. So things have got to drastically change. Again, like I mentioned before, Orlando does need to come back. Orlando Predators do need to stick around and stay around. In a dream world, Rob Keefe would be someone to reach out again. He just won a championship in Albany. He's back in Orlando right now, coaching at another high school here, Faith Christian again. So he's actually back in the Central Florida area. But we still have like guys like Ben Bennett, who was the offensive coordinator. I'd love to see him around, and he's very active in the Orlando Predators. And then obviously Nate Starlin, get complete and majority ownership of the team, or someone of his likes. And then, obviously I've had works with the commissioner, and he's doing a phenomenal job trying to figure out things. And I've talked to him on multiple occasions.
I'm sure you're talking about Randall Bowe, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're talking Randall Bowe. Yep.
Yeah. There's been a lot of, different names been reached out, but it's not even about that. But he definitely cares. And so it's just trying to get the right people in the right place, because that's where it all starts, in that foundation. But like I said, Orlando does need to come back, and Orlando needs something like that, because the Apollos was the next big thing, and that just completely crumbled. And then obviously the excitement of arena football, which is like a big party in a big city, with good football. I mean, you can't beat that. So it's a good thing, and I love the Orlando Predators. This will never tarnish what I think about them. I'm honored to actually play for the Predators. I think I had one guy reach out to me and was like, so you're bashing the Predators like this, which again, I've never bashed the Predators. That's number one, because if you read my statements, it had nothing to do with the Orlando Predators. But anyways, one guy said, well, why do you still have your profile picture on Facebook with you in a Predators jersey? Well, dude, at the end of the day, I'm so honored to play professional sports and play for the Orlando Predators, which is my hometown team, which I grew up as a kid loving. So I'm no way ever going to be against the Orlando Predators or be or have regret playing for them or whatever you want to call it. It's never going to be like that. I'm honored to be there, and I'm honored to have worn a Predators jersey and be a part of that. So that's never going to be the issue. It was always an owner issue, not a team or a league issue. So it's just, again, it's the message that I wanted out. And again, I'm not here to get fans. I'm not here to try to pick sides or be like, yeah, man, like just join my team. Like, no, it has nothing to do with that. I can care less if no one believes me. But the fact that the facts are out, I mean, you can't deny that. So one thing you cannot argue, if you're in an argument or a debate and you're trying to prove your point, you better come out with facts. That's why we have lawyers. That's why we go to court, because the facts are going to eventually present itself. And when you do that, there's really no dispute. So the fact that fans are still questioning, like, oh, we haven't got Kenny's side. Well, guess what? Kenny would have spoken by now. And if he has spoken, it's probably bogus, because the two times I was on the news, I exposed him and I had facts, and then he goes, well, I already paid all the players. Well, clearly he didn't, because the moment that the segment ended, I already had a list of all the names and players that you did not pay yet. So, of course, I released it again, and it's like, then another lie, then another lie. So it's just, it keeps going, and that's all you're going to do. And then, shows are getting canceled, and, he's not showing face anymore. Like, dude, if I was an owner and I knew that the accusations against me were all false and some player's just mad, oh, you best believe I'm coming out with a statement. I'm going to be in front of the cameras. I'm going to look, dude, I have proof that I can show you statements of all the times I've paid players. He's not doing that. Why? Because it's not happening. So, and I'm still, and guess what? I came out with this, about a month, 2 months ago, or a month and a half ago, and guess what? I'm still not paid. So, and yeah, granted, I said, keep your money on the last text I sent him, which again, I posted for everyone to see. My literally text to him, which again, I haven't heard from him or nothing since, that day, which is funny, because you would think if you're an owner and you're getting accused by a player who you have direct contact to, you try to figure out a way to meet or do something. But that's never happened. So it's just funny, because again, I'm backing everything I say with facts. I don't care about publicity. I don't care if I play again, and I don't care if I gain fans. All I want is the truth out there, and it to be resolved, and to move on, and get my friends who I've played with their rights, their credit back, and their payment, because again, their careers and their livelihood is on this, and not mine. And again, I can tell you can probably tell I'm speaking a lot of passion, but. Again, facts are the facts, and that's what it is. Again, I'll keep reiterating. I have no problem saying this. Kenny is not a bad guy. From what I know, the dealings that I met, like in person, talking to him, he's a great guy. He's a phenomenal coach, because he actually coached one of our games against, I think it was against Columbus, with Brian Hicks was actually starting for that in that game. We actually almost won it. So he's a phenomenal coach. But again, going to the ownership and how he dealt, it was terrible, and I got facts to prove it. So that's what I'm here to talk about.
Yeah, and you definitely brought it out here, and it brought everything to the table. That's what you needed to do, and I'm so fortunate about that. And I think and like I said, we're supposed to be impartial and everything else like that. But one of the things is that we're just about as passionate about this sport as anything else, and I'm sure that we are going to be joining you and everybody else in Orlando to make sure that to get the Predators team back on, whether it's in the National Arena League, whether it's in the Arena Football League, it doesn't matter. I know that, and to make sure that Nate, gets heavily involved in this, because I'm pretty sure there's going to be a point. There's going to be a point where Kenny is going to have no alternative but to give up his stake in the team.
Well, I will tell you one thing. I do know that he's been fined. He's been fined the worst possible fine, the most you can ever be fined in the league. He has already been fined. It's obviously under the table, hasn't been released yet, but I know, again, a lot of information. I'm not going to say sources, but from what I know, he's been fined, and now we see somewhat taking action. I guess some players have, been paid here and there, some still owe checks. Again, like I said, I have coaches literally this past week reaching out to me and wanting to know what's going on, sending me literally screenshots of this guy, texting him, promising him things, and not showing up. So it's just too inconsistent, and it's sad. But like I said, he's been served. So we'll, I do know some legal things are happening right now. And as the commissioner has said before, they're doing a whole investigation on him right now. And a lot of things are finally coming to the surface. It's kind of been under the radar now since the arena's over with, but things are still moving in place and things are going to change. And now it's just amazing how as soon as, I come out with all this stuff, now I guess the New York streets are going through something. They just got out. So it's unfortunate. But these players need to know that they have a right to speak up and be treated with integrity and truth, man. And that's all. This is what it's all about.
I truly agree. Yeah, that street situation. Oh gosh, we could probably do a whole show. I could probably bring Jonathan Rios from 920 WON the Apple, since he lives in Brooklyn and he's close to that situation there. And he's already talked about how poorly they were run and everything, and the one thing I will say about Chris Siegfried, commissioner of the NAL, he doesn't play around.
Yeah,
we've already seen
he's awesome.
Yeah, we've already seen what happened, that whole situation with the Carolina New York situation where the game ended halfway through the game.
Crazy.
And then of course that fight that took place during the playoffs. Yeah, and the fight that took place with Columbus and Jacksonville, which surprised me not. And
they stuck to it, The player was still suspended, which is unfortunate for him. But like I said, like you said, Chris doesn't play around. Whenever he makes a decision, I guess that's what he's rolling with.
Mm-hmm. That's mad props to him. He does a great job with that and stuff. So, and I'm sure you'll be back with us. We're going to make sure that you come back on with us to give us updates as to what's going on down there in Orlando. And I'm sure. I don't know if Wacko Bob is still standing by. He's, he and I do some shows on occasion, including NFL Rap, which is going to be starting up here this Tuesday. But Bob, if you're still there. Okay, I think he may have stepped away here just for a moment, but he's heard these stories before as well, and I'm sure he probably had a couple questions for you as well. So, anyway, you're going to keep us up to date as to what's going on here and with the future of the Predators. I know that I've said it's uncertain. The streets, I'm pretty sure, are certain they're going to be gone very, very soon. But as far as Orlando, but as far as I know, and I'm making that bold prediction, the streets are gone. But as far as the Predators, you still have an awesome fan base there. You still got people that communicate with you and a lot of players, and I know that they want to keep this franchise going and everything. But what do everybody in Orlando have to do to make sure that they keep the franchise and get Kenny's attention and tell them, you were a stalwart with the Orlando Predators. What happened? Why are you doing this? And what's it going to take for you to understand that you represent Orlando? You can't be doing your own selfish interest. How do you get all that out there?
Exactly doing what you do, what you just said. You question him. You put him against the wall. See how he responds. I think a lot of the fans are doing that right now. I mean, ever since I came out with this stuff, you can see on all the arena talk pages. I mean, it got crazy. I mean, I know within the first week that I posted it, I mean, it went viral quickly. I've got people reaching out from California, from Vegas, from Arizona, trying to figure out the story. I mean, it got big really fast. And I'm just a small voice. And again, all these Predator fans, they've been reaching out. I've been talking to a lot of them, which is pretty cool because now I get to know who really cares and stuff. And what they need to do is, again, Facebook is used as, it could be a blessing or a curse. And if you're using it in the right way, you can kind of question and see answers through Facebook. You can reach out to him through there. You can, say your own piece on your own wall, tag the Predators in it or him, and see how he responds. But again, he's going to see it all. There's no doubt. But the fans, they deserve better, and the fans do deserve a voice. And I know some of these fans who I've also put on Facebook are still owed either season tickets or not promised certain things during the season, and still owed money back. So that was also a whole another topic too. I mean, now the fans are involved, but they need to know they have a voice too, and they can simply reach out to him. I've also had fans reach out to me after they've talked to Kenny on Facebook and screenshotted their conversations and showed me. And every time they confront him, he's like, "Yeah, I paid all the players 100% full up to this date." And then I'll reply back with a whole list of different names and be like, "Look, talk to these guys, and I guarantee you they'll tell you they haven't." And sure enough, of course, they haven't. So it's just, again, lie after lie, and that's all they're going to really get. So it's just a matter of the fans still supporting the Predators, talking positive about them, just trying to uplift a serious situation, but trying to make it in a positive way of showing that fans really do care, and which encourages those around that are in higher power to have the motivation to find the right person or get this thing fixed so that they do come back, because there are true dedicated fans here. I mean, back when I was growing up, I would go to Predator games and there'd be 10 to 11,000 people in the stands. I mean, these were diehard season ticket holder fans that love the Orlando Predators, and I know that they're still here. It's just, again, they need to have a marketing team that's going to help promote it. They need people to push it in a positive light. They need to fix the ownership so people can start believing in this thing again, so it doesn't just fold randomly or players go through this, because I know fans that deeply care don't want to see any player go through this. And I've had other fans reach out to me in the same way, apologizing, or even one fan was like, "Dude, I'll pay your fee if you really need it." And I'm like, "Dude, I don't need the money. It's not about the money. It's about integrity." So just stuff like that. Just, again, they have a voice, and using it in a positive way. Just staying positive with the Predators on social media or word of mouth, especially in a big city like this. Words spread pretty fast. But again, try to confront Kenny in a positive way. Be like, "Hey man, like, I heard this is going on. Like, do you need help? Like, what's just something like that to get him talking." But if you're just going to confront him, be like, "Hey man, I heard you haven't paid." Of course, any person who's one, hiding from the truth, and two, going to try to keep everything afloat, he's going to be like, "Well, I've already paid everybody." So that's the easy way of just beating around the bush, and then he'll end up blocking you. So I mean, it's just it's a carousel. But again, the fans just need to stay positive, and use that Facebook as a good tool and not a negative tool.
Yeah, that's the more positive way of doing that, and I think everybody appreciates what you do. So I know that people are going to be listening to this in archive here, but to the fans in Orlando, you have a great fan base, you have a great team, and you got great people like Balin here who wants to get the word out. And if you continue to be passionate, your Predators will come back. You're hoping for you're hoping for new ownership, folks. And I'm sure that if we could get Nate Starling to come on the show and then he could give his side of the story and everything else, I'm pretty sure everybody's going to encourage him to take over the Predators and make it better. It doesn't matter if you go to the NAL, it doesn't matter if you go to the AFL, although with the AFL hearing this, and I've got connections with the AFL, do not be surprised if we see them go back to the Arena Football League. But that's just a matter of some conjecture and everything. But the fact that you're providing a voice and you're giving a voice and you're making sure that all the other players get a voice out here, that's one of the things we encourage on our show, and also AFT Buzz, which Bryce Burge hosts. And I know that he'll want to talk to you about this too, even though he's not with us this week. But everything that you're saying and the passion that you have is just strong encouragement, and I'm encouraged about what you're doing, and I just want you to keep things going in the positive direction.
No, I appreciate that so much. And again, I love the Predators, and I'm honored to be a part of this organization. And that's the only reason why I really have passion behind all this. And again, my teammates deserve better. And if their livelihood's on it, they deserve the truth, and they deserve to be taken care of the way a professional organization is supposed to be run, especially if it's in the contract and in writing.
Yeah. Awesome work, and keep speaking as that voice and everything else like that. Now, as we know, you've already said that you're training quarterbacks, and you also have your own radio show. And tell us about that part.
Yeah, so I had a cool opportunity presented to myself a couple months ago from a guy named Heath Ziegler, who's done a phenomenal job of covering high school sports here in Orlando, Florida. We have a big market in that. In just one county alone, we have over 19 schools, so it's pretty cool how they're incorporating high school into the radio. And then ESPN actually picked it up, and so we're on ESPN Orlando, which is obviously all coverage in Orlando with ESPN. And so we have our own show. It's once a week. It's usually on a Thursday night, but sometimes it's on Wednesdays depending on NFL and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool, man. It's a 1 hour. We recap all the high school games, the top performers, the top games. We do predictions. Sometimes we have fans call in, we'll answer questions, stuff like that. But it's with me, this guy named Heath Ziegler, who his dad is one of the well-known coaches in the Orlando area, Coach Zig Ziglar, and then Nicky Football. So it's a really cool show. It's usually from 7 to 8 p.m. You guys, anybody from around the world can listen to it on ESPN580Orlando.com from 7 to 8, usually on Thursday nights. Sometimes it's Wednesdays or Tuesdays, but I usually post it, or the Twitter account posts it, or it's Facebook. So you always know when the show's on. So it's cool. It's just all it is high school sports and athletes and stuff like that. And yeah, so I just started this, and we're into our third week coming up. So it's pretty exciting. I love talking on the radio. It's a great opportunity to, again, get my voice out there. A lot of these people in Orlando know I train quarterbacks, so it's another way to market my business. But Heath, again, is doing a phenomenal job in that, and I'm just excited for the opportunity that he's presented it to me. So
awesome. Well, I know we're going to get a hold of you here somewhere down the road here, because I know that we're always looking for sponsors. We're always looking for people to advertise their business on our network as well. So I'm sure we'll be talking more about that. Now, speaking of this, so that we can give you a plug, tell us about this. Tell us about this business that you have with training quarterbacks. This sounds like it's a very interesting line of work that you do.
Yeah, it's been awesome, man. Like God's really good. And I started out with one kid, 5.5 years ago. Just randomly filmed him on YouTube. Or filmed him his workout, put it on YouTube, and then 1 turned into 2, turned into 4, 4 turned into 10, 10 turned into 20. In about 1 year, I had like 30 to 35 clients, all ages, starting at the age of 6 all the way to college athletes and even some pros. And that was my first year. So I blew up pretty quickly. Again, I started, at a lower rate. There was other quarterback trainers in the area that were charging pretty expensive. I was just trying to get my name out there. So I just started at like $20 an hour. And these kids would just come in, I'm very big on details and fundamentals and footwork. And a lot of these quarterback coaches out here, they focus on just mechanics mainly, or throwing routes. I mean, that's really not even training. So I wanted to separate myself and do something that's actually going to be geared towards what they will be doing in a game-like situation, or when they get to the next level, so that they're well prepared for what they're about to experience, especially at the quarterback position. So once the first year was really successful, I really started to see that this could be something. I do more marketing, started my own Twitter, and Instagram page, and also Facebook page, so that I can get the word out there more. 35 turned into 50, 50 turned into 60. Then my price went up. Then like 60. Now I'm up to 120 clients. It's my 5.5 years of doing this, and these are consistent clients that I see on a regular basis, whether it's once or twice a week. I do this year round. So I actually ended up quitting coaching in high school, which I was doing for 4.5 years at my alma mater at Oak Ridge. Now I'm just a PE teacher there, but I solely focus fully on quarterback training. So right after school, there's kids that are homeschooled that I train, that I meet at a park, or even go to their house, go over film, stuff like that. So I'm really diving into the quarterback business. And then through my personal training, I've started my own quarterback camp, which is called Advanced QB Camp, where I bring in other quarterbacks from all over the country to come in, and we'll do a 3-hour camp on a random Saturday. I've done that the past 2 years. Some of the notable names, I started it with Stephen Garcia, who played with South Carolina, who also played in a little bit of arena football with the Tampa Bay Storm. And then I did a camp recently with Quincy Carter, who played with the Dallas Cowboys and the Georgia Bulldogs. And then I'm also going to be doing a camp here coming up soon in November with Kevin Olson, who was a former Miami Hurricane, played for Charlotte 49ers. So again, I try to bring some good quarterback coaches and guys who've been to the highest levels around me so these kids can see what it takes. And then alongside the quarterbacks, I have, position group coaches, which is Carlos Williams from Florida State, played running back, went to the Buffalo Bills. He coaches my running backs. I have Naquan Murray and Garrett Johnson, who played at Kentucky and FSU, and Naquan, who's recently picked up with the Seattle Seahawks. They're always around, and he actually played at Oak Ridge High School. Naquan did, so he's been my guy. And then Garrett Johnson, I just know through just being in Orlando. He played at Kentucky and with the Chicago Bears, so he does all my receivers. And then I have Bo Jack, who does a lot of speed training here in Orlando. He's more of my DB coach, linebacker guy, who does a lot of speed training in my camps. So again, I'm really excited about that and what's about to take place. And through that, I got reached out by Feltram Sports, which are located in Haines City at Balmoral Resorts, Florida. And they reached out to me about a month and a half ago. They've been watching me on social media, which again, I use that as a big marketing tool. I'm very active on Instagram and on Twitter, especially on Twitter. And that's where I get a lot of my clients from all over the country. And so they reached out to me through Feltram Sports, and now I have pretty much my own facility out in Haines City where I'll be doing all my camps from now on, which is really cool. They just built a brand new facility, turf field, everything, and that's going to be for me. So my first camp I'm going to be doing there will be in November. It's November 23rd and 24th. They got vacation homes on site. They have a water park on site. And again, they have a full turf field. They're going to have indoor classrooms, a charter school, everything, you name it, it's right there. It's Balmoral Resorts, again, by Feltram Sports, and it's going to be in Haines City, Florida, which is only like 40 minutes from Orlando. So anytime I do a big camp like I've been doing, it'll be there, which I'm really excited about, again, the opportunity with that. And then through my trainings, I'm now sponsored by Body Armor. They came in, they've been watching what I've been doing. They reached out to me, so now all my training camps, they have Body Armor there. So it's been really cool, man. It's really taken off. Again, I'm going into my my sixth year of doing this. I have 18 guys currently playing college football right now at the highest level in Division I, and then I also have trained a pro athlete. So it's real exciting, man. And again, it's my passion. It's about the kids. And then obviously now that I've recently been playing again, some of these kids that I train, they'll come out to the game. So it's pretty cool to not only teach it but also show it. So that's what I do. And again, it's only going to go from here.
Awesome. I had to hook you up with John Dutton, who was a great quarterback, if you remember, back in the days with the Arena Football League. He now coaches at my high school, alma mater, McLeod High School, coaching 8-man. His sons are playing, and this year they added 2 girls to the team, which that's definitely going to be huge. So I'm going to be heading back to my old hometown in the coming weeks to go watch them play, and especially one game in Dunsmuir. But John Dutton, he's a quarterback. He knows the game. I had to hook you up with him. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that'd be awesome, man. Whatever. Again, I'm all about networking and expanding business. So, man, just tell him to give me a call. That'd be great.
All right, I'll do that. As a matter of fact, for all you folks, this is just a program reminder that John Dutton has agreed to come on Arena Football Nation here in the coming weeks. We're going to set something up, so we'll have him as a very special guest on the show. So make sure that you tune in for that. So, all right. So, Balin, any final thoughts? I don't know if Wacko Bob is still around. Maybe he might have a question before we let you go. Okay.
Some final thoughts. If you want to just follow what we're doing or follow what I'm doing, you can find me on Twitter. It's my name, Balin Trujillo, at Balin Trujillo, both there and Instagram, to kind of follow the story or follow what I'm doing in my career. Again, this is a great opportunity to speak truth, and like I said, I appreciate you guys having me. It's been great. I'm glad that, again, you took the time to understand and learn more about the situation, the story with the Orlando Predators. And again, I'm very excited about where the organization could be and where it should be. It's just a matter of time when it happens. So the fans still need to be excited about it. This is not, again, a negative thing towards the Atlanta Predators or even the league, the NAL. It's just an owner thing. So thank you again for this awesome opportunity to be on the show. Thank you for having me. It's been great. I love what you're doing here. I love what arena football is amazing. It gave me an opportunity to play professionally. So it's just exciting. So thank you again.
No problem. And let me just tell you this, Balin. I don't think you're done by any stretch of the imagination. I know you've got so many great things that are happening, but as far as a pro player, the opportunities will come. I don't think you're done. I do not think you're done by any stretch. So just be mindful of that. And we always have connections. You know that. And we got your contact number. Don't be a stranger. Come on back because I know you'll be
definitely
come on. And if we need a guest co-host to fill in for Coach Rez or somebody, I'm sure we'll be in touch with you.
Yep, sounds good to me.
All right. Well, Balin Trujillo, thank you very much for being here on Arena Football Nation, and continued success down there in Orlando. And for sure, go Preds.
Yes, sir. Go Preds.
All right. Thanks so much for being on.
Take care and God bless, man.
Hey, you too. All right. Bye-bye.
All right, later.
All right, Balin Trujillo from the former quarterback of the Orlando Predators, and Bob, you were sitting there listening to a lot of what he had to say, especially about that situation going on in Orlando. What are your thoughts on that? All right,
now they got me. Now I got on here.
There you go. All right, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on what Balin had to say?
What a mess! What a mess! Well, I mean, go show you too many leagues could be to the point of overkill for an owner, for one owner, trying it with a team, because eventually, the thing you got to worry about is how you're going to pay them out.
Yeah, no doubt about that. It's an unfortunate situation right there. I mean, and in the NAL, you got one guy that currently owns two teams, could be three here very soon, and you already know about the situation with the AFL. But what are some of the things that you learned from this, and what do you think that maybe some future owners could learn from all this to try and avoid situations like this?
Keep your house clean. Keep your house clean. Make sure you have all your ducks in a row, and don't even think about even starting a team in a league like this until you have all your ducks in a row. Is all I can tell you. You get clean, get organized, have all your ducks in a row, and then that's how you go with it.
I agree, and situations like that with what happened in Orlando. I mean, and let me once again reiterate, folks, that our show, as well as AFT Buzz, which comes on after we're done here, and I'll give you a little note on that here in just a second. We always like to give everybody fair opportunity to say their piece, as well as tell their side of the story and everything. So, like I said, we're not taking sides, but I think that just understanding the passion from Balin Trujillo has, shows that, he's a guy that, wears his heart on his sleeve and makes sure that everybody is treated fairly. And so that's what's important. So, and the one thing that I didn't mention to him that we did try, I think at one point to get Kenny McIntyre to come on the show, and he did not respond to our requests for an interview and everything. So, I don't know. I mean, when you play arena football, the arena football that I knew and that I learned from so many people like a John Dutton, like a Sed Bonner, like even watching Hunky Cooper. I mean, these are guys that don't care about the money. They just want to play. It's sounding to me like, Kenny, all he cares about is the money, and, doesn't care about the fans, doesn't care about the players, or doesn't care about, anything else. I mean, from the way it's sounding, and there are going to be people that are going to back up Kenny and say, well, that's not true. But as I said, there are two sides to every story. And so far, we're only hearing one side, and we're not hearing the other side. All we heard, and I even read it myself on one of the websites in Orlando for one of the TV newscasts. It says, "I paid the players," and that's all he said. That's not an owner that takes responsibility. Would you agree?
I agree with you on that one. I mean, it's just, you got, as owners ourselves, I mean, we have to look at, we have to look at what in business. We have to always account for. And the one thing we have to account for is how we're handling things. Especially with the people. The people. And I just don't mean with money. I mean just with what you got to do in everyday business life. Mm-hmm. You account for your treatment. You account for what you're doing to them. And you account for things that way.
Yeah. And the unfortunate part is that you see this happen with sports ownership groups all the time, and it's especially in arena football, and you just don't do that. And we've seen that with the AAF, and you already saw with the AAF. With what happened with the primary owner there, which it started out as Charlie Ebersol and his staff, and then you bring the guy Tom Dundon. This is an example right here. You bring him in. He owns the Carolina Hurricanes, which, by the way, his arena is one of those being looked at by the AFL. And you look at what he's done, what he did to the AAF, and people are still sore over that. You can't do stuff like that and expect to get either any return or get any respect. And it's sad to see where that went. And you're seeing that a lot with a lot of these leagues and a lot of these teams and everything. It's just, and especially when you have shady owners. I've seen that happen here in Southern Oregon back in 2001 with the Southern Oregon Heat. You had an owner that didn't pay the players and just skipped town. And, you see a lot of that happen, and you still see it. And it's like some people never learn. Whereas on the other hand, you have more established franchises. And, there's still some people here in Portland that laugh at the AFL about how it's being run and everything else like that. But still, you look at all these more established teams, especially in the NAL, with the Jacksonville Sharks, with the Carolina Cobras, with the Columbus Lions, and the Massachusetts Pirates, and especially Rob Storm, whose two teams were in the championship and now is looking to bring back the Maine Mammoths. I mean, you got owners that are much more established that have the financial backing. You have everything. That have everything working for them, that have everything, all set, that they take care of their players. You see all that, and then you see this mess going on in Orlando and New York. Let's not sugarcoat this thing. And New York, the mess that they're going through. And even I tried to reach out to the owner of the Streets and never got a response. That shows me that, there are some ownership groups that are much more established, that understand the business, and then you got people that think they know what's going on and, just don't understand. I mean, it is what it is, unfortunately, and that's probably going to be another subject for another time, maybe when we have like a show outside of this particular show. But kudos to Balin for coming out and speaking on behalf of players that have been screwed in one way or another, or coaches or fans or everything else like that. So I'm sure we're going to be hearing more about this in the coming weeks, and Balin does have that invitation to come back and maybe even be a guest co-host at times. But we got a lot more to talk about here soon. But honestly, I mean, he's a man that wears his heart on his sleeve, and props for him, mad props to Balin Trujillo. We're going to take a quick timeout here. We're going to recoup ourselves, and when we come back, we're going to talk more about some things going on in the AFL, and also briefly talk some NFL news as well as XFL news before we head to the top of the hour with the best of AFT Buzz, and I'll explain that in just a second. But right now, let's go ahead and take that commercial break, and we'll come right back. This is Arena Football Nation, powered by Action VR Network.
is open daily. Ride the wave into cool summertime family fun. From the lazy lagoon to the dragon slide, the new wave pool to the dive of the avalanche, there's something for everyone. Purchase your season pass now for only $63.95. Includes daily admission, locker and tube discounts, special meal deals, and 1 free day pass. Order online at waterworkspark.com.
Your summertime happy place is Waterworks Park, the coolest place in Reading.
My name's James. For 6 years, I was a garbage can druggie. I would do any kind of drug I would get my hands on. But here at Teen Challenge, I've walked away from that drug lifestyle for good.
If you know an adult or teenager who is struggling with a chemical addiction, Teen Challenge is there to help. Please, don't wait. Call us today at 417-862-6969 or reach us on the web at teenchallengeusa.com.
Canadian Aquatic Auctions, the place to be if you are into anything aquatic. Nelson Fletcher, owner and operator, has years of experience and wants to help you better achieve your aquatic needs and goals. So if you're an aquatic hobbyist and enthusiast, please visit Canadian Aquatic Auctions today. Their public auctions provide a venue to remarket all aquatic-related products, services, and equipment. If you are just starting out in the hobby, the site has a tack room where you can converse with other aquatic hobbyists like yourself. Canadian Aquatic Auctions is the eBay of everything aquatic. So visit Nelson at his site at www.aquariumauctions.ca or go check out his Facebook page as well at www.facebook.com/Canadian Aquatic Sales. Together we can build lasting relationships that are based on listening and servicing your needs in a professional environment. Canadian Aquatic Auctions.
Dreamed of becoming a professional wrestler? Then what are you waiting for? Join the PCW Work Farm now! Quality instructors, live monthly shows, classes every Wednesdays and Sundays, and with the most affordable rates in the United States, PCW has been Northern California's #1 force in sports entertainment for the last 17 years. Pro Championship Wrestling, because it's time.
Skis Watch and Clock, 106 West Central Avenue, Winter Haven, Florida, 33880. Located downtown across from the main post office. When you're short on time, he's right on time. For all of your watch, clock, sales, and service needs, call Skis, 863-294-5630. Sales, service, free estimates, and reasonable rates. That's 863-294-5630 for Skis Watch and Clock.
Do you want to capture the best memories you can? Is wanting to preserve those memories your goal? Do you want your memories to last a lifetime? Do you want your memories to look beautiful in pictures? Well, if you live in Southern Oregon or Northern California, there's one place that you can save those treasures for a lifetime. Grateful Heart Photography. Abigail Summers is your solution for capturing your favorite moments and memories like birthdays, graduations, weddings, family portraits, single shots, and more. She can also capture the finest scenery shots around and make them available all across the country and around the world at a price that can suit your budget. So if you're looking for the right photographer that can preserve your legacy, look no further than Abigail Summers at Grateful Heart Photography. Call Abby at 541-890-4657 or message her at her Facebook page by searching Grateful Heart Photography. Much of her work is displayed there. Feel grateful for the memories captured by Grateful Heart Photography.
This is our time. We play without limits. We create without rules. We are not for sale. We connect with the whole world. Every idea we've shaped, every relationship we've cultivated belongs to us. We demand the freedom to be our uncensored selves. And when something challenges that, we change it. Together, This is our time. Let's start a revolution. Let's MeWe. Join the revolution at MeWe.com.
Are you ready for some rock and roll in your face football? Get down, get set for one heck of a time. Whether in or war, down on the floor, it's like nothing of this kind. A guaranteed non-stop, certified red hot, knock 'em against the wall. Arena football, arena football. It's not a game for the weak at heart. Only the strong survive. When the ball comes off and rebound it, you know that it's still alive. It's in your face, rock and roll. Hit 'em high, hit 'em low, smash 'em against the wall. Arena football, arena football. Certified red hot, slam 'em up against the wall. Arena football, arena football.
Here, the bad boys arrest me. Testing competition, win the war, that's their mission. Not no mercy, see the race like the street. If you don't know, you better find out the wolf pack. It'll prove a point. Number one, best believe that you don't wanna tussle with them. I'll be there for them, come in the ring with them. You're never walking out again. Don't turn your back on the wolf pack.
All right, welcome back, everyone, to Arena Football Nation, powered by Action VR Network. Our thanks again to Balin Trujillo, former quarterback of the Orlando Predators. And Bob is keeping up with what's going on with Hurricane Dorian. And as we know right now, it is still heading towards Florida, but it's now the satellites are looking like it's going to be taking a turn and going to head up towards the Carolinas. And that's why we don't have Coach Rez on today. He's right now preparing for or working on hurricane relief efforts in the Carolinas. So our best hopes for everybody in up along the Atlantic, and so hopefully things will get better for everybody there. And if I ask Bob to go ahead and mute his mic here, we'll go ahead and get back to talking about some of the news of what's going on. By the way, to let everybody know, AFT Buzz is on its way, coming up at the top of the hour. It's going to be a best of AFT Buzz. No new show this week. And also, the best of XFL Now will be coming up after that as well. That will be a repeat show, so be sure and stay tuned for that. I don't know. And once again, I'm still hearing the weather forecast here, so hopefully. So, Bob, if you can go ahead and mute yourself, I'll get back to what I'm doing here as far as stories are concerned, as far as the Arena Football Nation is concerned. And the Nation is going to be wanting to hear this because this right here is news we didn't get to yet to talk about some controversy. You want to talk about controversy? We're going to talk about controversial comments and then a response. So let's take a listen to this. It was either a week ago or earlier this week that a comment was made by Tommy Grady, who is the quarterback of the Arena Bowl champion Albany Empire. And this was with regards to his thoughts on the NAL. And I don't know what the post was. I don't know what was mentioned or anything else like that. But this is what Tommy Grady mentioned. This is what Tommy Grady mentioned on one of the comments that he made. He said, "I played in the NAL. Their best team would get blown out every week in the AFL. It should be all AFL teams, then start with the other leagues. Talent's not even close. If you know anything about football, you should know this." And this, he's responding to like some other post or something like that. So he made those comments, and it was screenshotted, and it was posted on social media, and social media blew up over that whole thing with Tommy Grady. Given the fact that he believes that the Arena Football League has better competition than just about anybody else, and that includes the NAL. And it was almost like he was taking a pot shot at the NAL, but say what you will about that. But I'm going to give you the response coming up here from Rob Storm, who's the owner of 2, I believe also 3 NAL teams. And, one is in Jacksonville, which is a former AFL team, and one is in Carolina, also a former NAL team, or former AFL name, shall we say, but a different franchise. Rob Storm came back and said, "This is coming from a previous player in the NAL that left his teammates a couple days before the season started, didn't even tell his teammates, let alone his coach or ownership. What a leader." And I'm having a little problem here with my computer, so I'm going to do my best to try and read this here. Still leaves me with a question, though. And give me a minute here because, again, a program is opening up and it is too slow. You talk about Bob having some computer issues. I'm having them too. So please bear with me. But just to kind of get back to what this is saying, I'm going to start over again with Rob Storm's comments. Said, "This is coming from a previous player in the NAL that left his teammates a couple days before the session started. Didn't even tell his teammates, let alone his coach or the ownership. What a leader. Still leaves me with a question, though. If the talent is so terrible, why are all the AFL teams trying to sign a lot of the Cobras and Sharks over the last couple of weeks?" This was with regards to the NAL championship that happened about a week ago. I apologize, folks. "Can't speak for the other owners yet, as I haven't asked them. They've been calling our players for months. Hell, they picked Tommy from the NAL. If his talent was so much beyond the NAL, what was he doing here? Or what was he doing? Oh yeah, guess nobody else wanted him, so he lowered himself to play with us. Must be it. Tommy, while I'm happy you got your shot back in the AFL and finally got you a ring, you have a lot to learn about class. You don't go around smack talking about the men you are playing alongside of, then left in the middle of the night." I'm having a hard time reading, folks. I'm still trying to wake up. "When you're in the NAL, they were your brothers. Now, they're not good enough for you? Wow." Well, if you could understand that, folks, I'll post that on the Arena Football Nation pages, both our main page as well as our group page. But Rob Storm responding very, very scathingly to Tommy Grady. And this, I think, is setting up that war, Bob, that we're talking about between the AAL, not the AAL, the AAL's dead, the AFL and the NAL. So Tommy Grady obviously taking pot shots at the NAL, and then Rob Storm coming back saying, our players here are not good enough for you. So what are your thoughts about that? I don't think Bob can hear me. He still has his mic turned on, or he still has his TV turned on. So, Bob, can you hear me? All right. There you go. I was trying to get you to mute everything because I'm trying to tell everybody about what's going on here with this controversy here. And I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on it. I'm going to just kind of once again read a little bit here. Again, folks, I do apologize. I don't read too well, so this is what was said, if I could get there, by Tommy Grady, and this is in regards to talking about the talent in the National Arena League, which I think has set off a social media firestorm. And this, let me go ahead and get it to you again. This is what Tommy Grady mentioned. He said, I played in the NAL. Their best team would get blown out every week in the AFL. It should be all AFL teams, then start with the other leagues. Talent's not even close. If you know anything about football, you should know this. And then Rob Storm just basically, Rob Storm, who's the owner of the Jacksonville Sharks and Carolina Cobras, and also owner of the Maine Mammoths, who are likely to come back, mentioned this. This coming from a previous player in the NAL that left his teammates a couple days before the session started, didn't even tell his teammates, let alone his coach or the ownership. What a leader. Still leaves me with a question, though. If the talent is so terrible, why are all the AFL teams trying to sign a lot of the Cobras and Sharks over the last couple weeks? Can't speak for the other owners yet, as I haven't asked them. They've been calling our players for months, talking about the AFL. Hell, they picked Tommy from the NAL. If his talent was so much beyond the NAL, what was he doing there? Oh, yeah, guess nobody else wanted him to lower himself to play with us. Must be it. Tommy, while I'm happy you got your shot back in the AFL and finally got you a ring, you have to learn a lot about class. You don't go around smack talking about the men you played alongside of them left in the middle of the night. When you were in the NAL, they were your brothers. Now they're not good enough for you? Wow. So there's a response there from Rob Storm. So what are your comments about that? Do you think that a war has started between the AFL and the NAL? Okay.
You may have it. You may have it. You may have that actually starting to go on. I've been saying that eventually you're going to start to see things cut back, and the cream's going to rise to the top, and that includes football leagues. I think you're going to get to the point to where you'll have maybe two arena football leagues. I believe they would be the AFL and the IFL. So,
which those are the top two. And,
exactly.
But seeing what's going on here with the AFL and the NAL, and granted, the NAL hasn't been around as long as the AFL has. NAL's been around only 3 years. AFL 32. So take a look at the track record right there. I mean, yeah, there was one season that was missed by the AFL because of the league ownership folding, and then everything was up in the air there, and then a new group comes in, takes it over, and then basically botches it. And now you got the new group led by Ron Jaworski to fix everything, and it seems like that is what they're doing. And I think, and Tommy Grady did play 1 year in the NAL, but he did get hurt. He was with the Sharks. He did get hurt, and the Sharks went on to win the NAL championship that year. That was 2 years ago. But Tommy, to Tommy's defense, he's a much better quarterback, a much top caliber quarterback, that he shouldn't have left the AFL to begin with. Because he played for Ron James in Utah, and played for him again, if I remember correctly, played for Chris Siegfried and for Ron James in Pittsburgh. And then he goes to Jacksonville and gets himself quite a career, and then goes to the Arena Bowl, only to lose to San Jose. And then a year later, about a year or two later, is when he went with the team to the NAL. And as I said, he gets hurt, but then he gets healthy again, and then the Albany Empire snatch him up. And now look what's happened. Tommy Grady wins a ring, but he was a much better high caliber athlete. And and he believes truly within his heart, and I think there's a lot of people, including those in the AFL circles, he believes that any team in the AFL can beat any team in the NAL. As a matter of fact, if you do like an all-star game, he would feel that the AFL would wipe out the NAL. Whereas you heard Rob Storm's response as if to say, "What are you talking about? Is this how you want to treat us?" And so now the war of words have started, and it looks like that you got these two teams or these two leagues that are battling it out, and the NAL makes up all these rules and everything. It's like, once you leave the NAL, you can't come back, blah, blah, blah. And so obviously the battle lines are drawn. And as I mentioned, Chris Siegfried, a great commissioner, he was a coach in the AFL at one time, and I think he played in the AFL. Now he's a commissioner in the NAL and everything, and he's been one of those that lays down the law. And he and the league basically have said, if you leave the NAL to sign with the AFL, don't bother coming back. Well, if you're a player who leaves and goes to the AFL and you get told that, they'd probably say, bye, Felicia. So I don't know. I mean, it's getting to the point where it's like, the battle lines pretty much have been drawn on the East Coast. And especially given what you just heard with Balin Trujillo, what he said about Orlando, who knows what's going to happen there? Will they stay in the NAL? Will they have Nate Starling take the team over fully? Will the Predators leave to go to the AFL? I know darn well that people like Coffee Jones and Ron Jaworski and Ted Leonsis are keeping a close eye on the situation in Orlando and would love to snatch the Predators back into the AFL fold. Would you agree?
I'd agree with that. I'd agree with that totally. I mean, the AFL's coming back. I mean, simple as that. I don't think these newer leagues can fight that.
Well, the IFL, are looking to go 16 teams this year. And as I mentioned, Oakland is in there. Serious talks about Spokane and Portland are going on, which would be happy. Although it's IFL, it would still make me happy, obviously. And then with other teams, with teams leaving the CIF, and the CIF's pretty much almost down to almost like 4 teams, and then they're trying to look for expansion cities, scrambling and everything else like that. The IFL is their own animal, pretty much. It's their own league. They are the top tier in the indoor portion of it. The AFL is the top dog in arena football, period. They are the top dog. And the NAL definitely a very, very strong second. They have the franchises. They have the horses. New York and Orlando, not the franchises, but all the other teams. And with Maine, with Maine possibly coming back, and now talk of Nashville coming into the NAL and going to be called the Nashville Cats likely. I mean, the NAL, they bring teams in, but the difference is between them and the AFL over the last couple of years now have not lost a franchise, yet they have grown. They're starting to grow little by little. You could see them, and there's word, not substantiated, not official, that the AFL could be a 10-team league by next season. With the names that I mentioned earlier, with Cleveland, technically not an expansion team, just on hiatus, Pittsburgh, Raleigh, North Carolina, and Louisville, Kentucky. Those are the 4 names that are being kicked around. While nothing is official yet, and as Coffee Jones said, unless it comes out of the mouth of Commissioner Bowe, don't take it as gospel. Don't take it as gospel. But those are the 4 strong cities there. And also, don't take as gospel Spokane and Portland yet, though the excitement is huge. Unless there is a press conference that will make the official announcement, just call it speculation. But I would like to see Spokane and Portland come back, even though they would be in the IFL. So a lot of these leagues, a lot of these cities are scrambling to get teams. NAL, I don't think has a problem with getting cities. I think they're stable enough. But now, the first shot was fired by Tommy Grady, and return fire by Rob Storm. So I have a feeling we have ourselves pretty much a indoor civil war, shall we say, over on the East Coast. The IFL obviously is watching. All these other leagues, the CIF, I don't know how long they're going to last.
They're gone.
And unfortunately, all these other, they're gone, yeah. The AAL is pretty much toast because, as we said, West Virginia Rough Riders gone and likely going to another league or maybe starting a new league up. And also with the announcement that the AIF is starting up again. They were a league that's been around for a long time, and they're starting up again. But Greg Fernario, who we hope to have on the show today to give us an update as to what's going on, he was not available. However, did want me to make mention that the Rough Riders are not folding. They're looking for a league right now, but they are a well-run organization themselves, and I think that they're going to find a league very, very soon because the AAL is done. Absolutely finished. So there's not much you can say about that. But again, the 50-yard indoor civil war, I think, has just broke out between the Arena Football League and the National Arena League. So get the popcorn out, get the sodas out, get the beer if you want, get the brats, get the steaks, get whatever. Have yourselves a nice tailgate party, because this has just gotten started between the AFL and the NAL. And Arena Football Talk will also have news about that, and we'll get their take on the story as well. So it's likely things are going to get a little bit crazy. We do have a couple minutes left before we get ready to bring you the best of AFT Buzz. We're going to talk a little NFL news, and I just saw this come down over the wire just today. And Bob, I'm going to get your comments on this. A 3-team trade took place today, and the Houston Texans, Jadeveon Clowney, has been traded to the Seattle Seahawks. And Abby is not going to let me hear the end of that one. So, again, that's part of a 3-team trade, and we're going to talk about that on Tuesday on NFL Wrap. But what are your thoughts on that? Jadeveon Clowney going from the Texans to the Seahawks.
What did the Seahawks give up to get him? That's what I want to know. And it's still not... Yeah, it's still you adding bulk to your defense, but you still got your offensive line to worry about there in Seattle, and that's where they got to be worrying, is the offensive line. Stop doing everything for your defense and zero for your offensive line, which is you doing zero for your quarterback, zero for your running back.
Yeah, I think so. They did add to that defense, though. But given how Jadeveon did last year, I think that he totally improved himself, because he was on his way to being a bust in the NFL. But he did swimmingly well for the Texans. 3 straight years he's a Pro Bowler, though a couple of times he goofed on a couple of situations, especially in the playoffs against the Colts. I think that the Texans fans just got tired of him, and so as a result, the Texans pretty much decided to ship him out. Now, again, this is part of a 3-team trade, and I know you're going to be looking this up here as time goes on, and then when we come back with NFL Wrap on Tuesday, we're gonna talk more about this trade, because this one, personally for me, I have mixed feelings about it. Being a Texan fan and Abby being a Seahawk fan, if I talk to Abby as soon as she gets woke up here and gets her wits about her, and I talk about it, she's just going to be like, Lou, sir, We got you. I got you, babe. I know what that's going to be like, but if you're the Seahawks, you got to be happy that they got something on defense. But as you said, Bob, you need something on offense, and they're not getting it.
You're 100% right. I mean, what else can I say?
Yeah. So, but that's just part of more NFL news that's going on, and there's still a lot of buzz. And I got to get here real quick. I know we're at the top of the hour. This is an AFC Buzz is supposed to start, but we're going to keep going here and talking about a young lady who was a part of the U.S. women's soccer team that was getting a tryout in the NFL to be a kicker. And I forgot who it was. I don't have time to really go into that there, but that's still a buzz going on right now.
I heard about that one, and I'll tell you right now, you got your first female referee in the NFL, you got your first female coach in the NFL. The only place that really has same intergender play has been baseball lately. Not in the pros, but everywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to wonder, if pro wrestling will be the start to scholarships, wrestling scholarships for a lot of the younger people out there. So you wonder where that goes. You also wonder where everything else goes now that people really had the chance to see the other side of a wrestler, and wow, it is something.
Yeah, it is crazy. So, but and don't even get us started on the whole. Don't even get us started on the whole transgender BS, because all that's politics, and it's just basically wimpy guys that couldn't hack it as males, so they decide that they're going to become females or dress up as females and be eligible to compete in girls' sports. They're just basically, and that's a subject for another time, because this is not the time or the place to talk about that, but they're just basically taking Title IX and defecating it all over it. So, but I applaud a lot of these girls that are filing lawsuits to try and end this transgender BS. I'm sorry, but that, like I said, that's another story for another time. But we're just about out of time, but we did want to give you a little bit of good news regarding the XFL. We already made the announcement that coming in October, 920 WON The Apple, the WON Radio Network, WON Sports, Jonathan Rios, and myself are putting together a brand new show that will be debuting in October, right around the time the XFL draft takes place. The XFL Today will start. We're going to be monthly up until the start of the season. Then we're going to go weekly, and it's going to be on WON Sports, and Action VR Network is also going to carry it. So that's huge. And I will be hosting it for the time being until we find a new co-host. But also some other great news with regards to that. Franz Stutchberry is a Carolinian himself, and he has his own XFL podcast. He will be co-host from time to time, maybe a permanent co-host on my show, but he's also going to be hosting a show that's going to be on WON Sports, and you're going to enjoy this, Bob. It's going to be called Guardians Game Day, and it's going to be starting up next year, and it's going to follow the New York Guardians. So I'll tell you what, the XFL is really starting to grow some legs. This particular version of it is starting to grow some legs here. How will it do once the season starts, and then afterward, is anybody's guess, but I think the hype is really turning up, and thankfully there's no hype of sexy cheerleaders, there's no hype of entertainment value or anything else like that. There's no WWE involvement. I think it's a step in the positive direction. And by the way, there are just to let everybody know that Andrew Luck is not going to the XFL, just to let you know. Okay? So anybody who wants to talk about Andrew Luck going to the XFL, save your breath. Ain't happening. Right, Bob?
Amen to that, man. Leo, let's face it. Those things are not going to happen.
Exactly. He's exactly right. It's not going to happen. And neither will Johnny Manziel. There had been talk about him going to the Dallas Renegades, to play for Bob Stoops. No, that's not happening either. So everybody just wants to talk about this and this and that. Sorry, ain't happening. One thing that is happening is that Landry Jones has signed with the XFL. We don't know what team he wants to play for, but all fingers could be pointing at the Dallas Renegades, so he could play for his former college coach from Oklahoma, Bob Stoops. So who knows what will happen there? But as I said, that'll be another subject for another time when we start talking XFL. But again, just to remind you, XFL Today will be coming in October, right around the time of the XFL draft, and it will be a monthly show on 920 WL in the Apple, and we'll come over here on Action VR Network as well. So, and as I said, I'll be hosting it. It'll be a 1-hour show, so make sure that you tune in for that. We are just about out of time here on this edition of Arena Football Nation. Again, our thanks to Balin Trujillo for joining us, and to all of our co-hosts, who we didn't get a chance to get on here. Bryce Burge in the middle of a move, so keep your chin up. We'll hope to hear from you next week for an all-new episode of AFT Buzz. Coach Rez helping out with hurricane efforts over in the Carolinas. He's not able to join us, so but I'm sure that he'll be listening to this show on archive and want to give his opportunity to talk to Mr. Trujillo as well. And we're going to keep tabs on what's going on in Orlando to see if the Predators' name is going to live on or if it's going to fade again. So we're going to keep. All I got to say is, Orlando fans, keep your chin up. The Preds hopefully will come back in some capacity. And I think for many fans, hopefully with new ownership. So, it's all about ownership. And, the latter part of their time in the AFL, was pretty tough. Give Scott Butera credit. He did find an owner, but, everything went downhill from there. And then the name comes back in a different league, and then it was an unmitigated disaster this year. So who knows what the future of the Predators is going to be, but me, personally, I think all the people in Orlando, I think keep your chin up. We'll see what happens here. Okay, so we are, once again, just about out of time. AFT Buzz is coming up next. Chuck Skull's Golden Age of Radio airing right now on Action VR 2 in a replay. And as I said, the best of AFT Buzz coming up next. We're going to replay last week's show. And once again, Bryce Burge going to be talking about, the various subjects and everything else like that. So make sure that you check it out. And also the best of XFL Now will be following. And then later tonight, it'll be One Nostalgic Weekend, midnight Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific on Action VR Network. And don't forget to check out all the shows, Whiskey and Cigarettes tomorrow, and also One Nostalgic Weekend. And the World Talk Rock Report is back with Cat and Chuck, so be sure and tune in for there. Well, we are out of here. Stay tuned for AFT Buzz coming up next here on Action VR Network. For Wacko Bob and for everybody involved, this is Mike Summers saying we'll see you once again in the arena.